Hello and welcome to our 2020 Australian Olympic Changemaker virtual event. I'm Brooke Hanson, an Olympic gold and silver medalist in the sport of swimming, and it is my great pleasure to be here celebrating our amazing changemakers across the country. Congratulations to each and every one of you who have been selected as this year's 2020 Australian Olympic Changemaker. Over 815 students around our country will be recognised with this prestigious award, which identifies, inspires and brings together young Australians who are really, truly making a positive impact in their school and local community. Despite this challenging and strange year, it is so inspiring to see more than ever young Australians like yourselves making an extraordinary difference in your communities. Today is all about you and celebrating you. And to help me do that, I'll be joined by some of Australia's most inspiring athletes and individuals, Olympians Melissa Wu, Becky Smith, Taliqua Clancy, Steve Solomon, Carl Vanderkuyp and Chloe Dalton OAM. We have changemakers from all corners of our country joining us for this amazing countdown to what's been a great year for all of you changemakers. So wherever you are right now, we are all in this together. We are all here right now to be part of this incredible changemaker movement. To everyone at home, at school or work tuning in, welcome. A special shout out to our 2019 changemakers, to whom are also joining us online today. The saying goes, once an Olympian, always an Olympian. And the same goes, once you're a changemaker, always a changemaker. If you have any questions today for our athletes, please drop them into the live chat. There's also a form there, and there's an opportunity to ask questions of our athletes, and we'll be able to answer those later in the show. Also, where are you viewing from today? Is it from your class, from your school? Are you with your family? Take a quick pic of where you're at and send it to us. Make sure you use the hashtag BeTheChange2020. That's hashtag BeTheChange2020 and tag at Oz Olympic Team. Joining me live in the Gold Coast studio is a lady who grew up in rural Queensland in the town of Kingaroy, over 200 kilometres away from the nearest beach. She tried her hand at almost every sport growing up before finding indoor volleyball in high school. At 15 years of age, she was scouted for beach volleyball and moved to Brisbane on a scholarship with the Queensland Academy of Sport. She then moved to Adelaide as a 17-year-old to join the Australian volleyball program and became the first Indigenous Australian to compete in Olympic beach volleyball, making her debut in Rio in 2016, where she got through to the quarterfinals. It's a privilege to have Olympian Taliqua Clancy give today's acknowledgement to country.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land that we meet today and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you so much, Taliqua. It's incredible to have you in the Gold Coast studio with me and to give that acknowledgement to country this morning. Well, changemakers, it has been a huge year and you have been doing some incredible things around our beautiful country. And we're going to look at some videos quite shortly of what you've been up to. But this year, that changemaker theme is Discover Tomorrow, reflecting the Tokyo Olympic Games vision and the core concepts, achieving personal best, unity in diversity, and connecting to tomorrow. Nominations received this year have highlighted how you have adapted to this crazy situation and how you've been showcasing the Olympic spirit in your communities. We've seen you leading online workouts for classmates, for teammates, virtual challenges, online buddy systems, coaching juniors, Strava challenges, social media challenges, radio hosting, daily positivity, acts of kindness, and so much more. Let's check out what you've been up to.
Hi, my name is William Johnson.
Madison Brooks.
I am an Olympic change maker.
Everyone has the opportunity to make a change, but that change must come with a lot of dedication and hard work.
I advocate an active life by being a positive role model.
It only takes 2 seconds to influence someone and make their day.
Teach them how resilience works and to simply just get the best out of them.
To uncover their full potential if they continue to strive to be the best version of themselves.
To see in change for community, bring people together, that's all I need.
I was subject to judgment. Despite this, I stood my ground and placed 5th in Australia.
When kids start sport, I want them to see that hard work and determination will bring results no matter who you are.
My aim has always been to raise the perception of women and their achievements.
Well, after many years, I have made the most unforgettable friends and memories.
Through involvement in athletics, rugby sevens and school SRC, I had various opportunities to display leadership.
I want to use my passion and enthusiasm for sport to drive social change and expand the Olympic spirit throughout my school and community.
Well, changemakers, you have all shown that Olympic spirit of friendship, sportsmanship and striving for excellence. And I know that our next guest loves seeing what you've been up to. Joining us today live from Sydney are Olympians that are on their own journey, still aiming for Tokyo. They are incredible athletes, both on and off the field, the diving pool and the track. They are all passionate about the Changemakers program and they're excited to be involved today. All three are still striving for Tokyo, and today we are so proud to welcome from diving, triple Olympian, Beijing 2008 Olympic silver medalist in the 10-metre synchro platform, Melissa Wu. From athletics, co-captain of the track and field team, London 2012 men's 400-metre Olympic finalist, Steve Solomon. And from the sport that made its Olympic debut in Rio 2016, rugby sevens Olympic gold medalist Chloe Dalton OAM. Well, fellow Olympians, we have just seen some fantastic footage from our changemakers. I'm inspired, but how do you feel about this type of activity happening around our country? I'll start with you, Steve.
Thank you. What I loved most about that video was just how leadership can take so many different forms in the community, and to see how we're all going through this difficult time with COVID, where we're in situations that we haven't been in before, and that's where leaders step up. That's where they make themselves proud. It's when they announce themselves to their communities, and to see so many of you on the screen do that and do so in such engaging ways that you've never had to done before. I feel inspired and so excited for it. What about you, Mel?
Yeah. It's so inspiring to see all these young people, be it in sport or other areas of life, trying to inspire change and positive things during COVID. It's been a tough time for everybody, and I think it's been really important to have people like this to lead others and help others see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think it's great to keep moving forward as well. And these guys didn't just stop and let things affect them. They decided to step up and help others and have some real positive things for their community.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome to see that you guys are out there not just striving to reach individual personal bests or trying to reach goals for yourself. I love that there was a theme throughout all of it, that you're trying to motivate and inspire others around you and really try and initiate some social change. So I think you guys are doing an awesome job.
Chloe, you've recently had to reset your goals with the rescheduling of the 2020 Olympic Games. How have you and the team gone about this?
Yeah, it was pretty tricky initially, I think, with the news coming in that Tokyo was going to be postponed. We got together as a team and decided that it was really important to celebrate the time when we were due to be in Tokyo this year in 2020. So we had a bit of a lunch together, and then for me, with my family and one of my teammates, I actually cooked some homemade dumplings and some ramen and had some close friends and family around to celebrate. And I got dressed up in my kit from Rio and kind of did a bit of a throwback, which was good fun. And then from there, we've regrouped and looked towards 2021 and tried to work out what we as a team can be doing to get ahead of our competitors, and using this time that we're fortunate enough to be training as a team to try and work out what we can be doing, whether that's in the gym, on the field or away from there, what we can be doing to try and get a bit more of a competitive edge heading into Tokyo and try to defend that gold medal.
Oh, fantastic to hear, and I'll have to make sure that we get that dumplings recipe. Sounds amazing. Melissa, there's no athlete journey that I guess is the same, that you all have to deal with different times in your career where it's not all going to plan, and 2020 it definitely hasn't gone to plan. How have you got through those stages of your career?
Yeah, it's definitely tough as an athlete. I think we've all experienced it, a lot of ups and downs, and the good thing is that kind of prepares us well for situations like this. So yeah, I've been fortunate to be pretty well equipped to deal with a crazy experience like this, just from all the things I've been through in diving. But doesn't mean that it's not tough, and this has been really tough during this time, but also, you know, with constant injuries as well. For me, I focus a lot on mindset, and I work really hard on that. In the same way that we train our body in diving to be able to, or for any athlete, to be able to perform physical performances, on top of that, I train my mind in the same way. So I actually kind of isolate it and focus on it separately, and focus on being positive. And even though it's really easy to say just to be positive, I think to actually believe it and do it and try and change the way you look at things is kind of hard to do. So for me, it's all about making sure I approach everything really positively, and resetting goals I think is important, because you can't plan for everything, and sometimes things don't go to plan like you said. So you've got to reset, look at what you can control, and just really be in the moment, I think. And then if you can do that, take it one step at a time. Your path, sometimes it may be, you know, a bit like this, but eventually you get to where you want to go, and that journey also makes us stronger as well. So I think there's a lot of strength in overcoming adversity and challenges, and yeah, that kind of makes us all who we are and shapes the people that we are.
Fantastic response, and yeah, controlling the controllables, believing yourself, having a positive attitude takes you so far. Steve, co-captain of the athletics team, what does it mean to be a leader, and what have you actively done personally for you to be a leader of that team and hold such a prestigious position?
For me, during the COVID period and the pushback and the delay of the games, the most important thing that I've done is really just be vulnerable within the community and make sure that everyone within the athletics community is having a voice and having an outlet to express how they're feeling. You know, I've seen it myself personally. You know, it's difficult to stay motivated through this period of time. You know, when changing environments, with different competitions being cancelled, to really look forward to events has been tough. So I think one of the responsibilities that I've taken on board as a leader in the community is making sure that I'm available and giving my hand to say, hey, how are you doing? You know, how are you finding this period of time? What are you finding challenging? And also making sure that I'm being honest and vulnerable myself, saying I'm finding it quite difficult with no competition in sight to get excited and get amped about training, making sure that we talk about that, have that dialogue, because we all know to get to the top of the world, you've got to be motivated, you've got to be energized, you've got to be excited. And when the goalposts are moved and we're pushed back, there are creative things that we can do, like cooking you know, traditional meals or getting dressed up in kit. All of those things I've tried to bring to the athletic community as well to get us through this period and keep us on track for next year.
Yeah, fantastic. And showing vulnerability this year has been so important. I've had a question come through for Steve. I love running, and I run the 400 metres, and I competed at the state level last year with a PB, even though I didn't advance to the nationals. What is your advice on a race plan? Do you go out hard, or do you start slow and then gun ahead at the end?
This is such a fantastic question, and I'll start the answer by saying I never made it through to the national championships until I was much older, you know, 16, 17 years old. So to run a PB at the state championships already shows that you can deliver when it counts. That's fantastic. In terms of race strategy for me, I gun that first 50 metres of the 400, and then I start to kind of relax as I work off the bend. Then down the back straight, you want to keep like a relaxed cadence. That's your chance to kind of use your peripheral vision and seeing where others are in the race, but quickly snap back into your own lane. Once you hit that top bend, start turning it up a little bit, almost like you're putting your foot in the accelerator in a car until you hit that home straight, and then it's just about everything you've got left. So I hope that race plan can now elevate you through the New South Wales or the state championships and onto your first national championships. Good luck.
Oh, I love it. Another one for you, Steve. How does it feel knowing that you're the first Australian male to make a 400 metre final since Darren Clark did at the 1988 Olympics in Seoul?
It's a good question. You know, it's special. I think it's hard to put into words. I was lucky enough to catch the Kathy Freeman documentary, which ran over the weekend, and it only hit me then that the next person after Kathy to run in the final of 400 metres in the Olympic Games was me. So, you know, it's just great to be able to bring the Australian energy and the Australian representation to an event that we have so much history in. Obviously, Darren had 2 Olympic finals under his belt. He got 4th in both of those games. So I'm really looking forward to continuing in his footsteps and doing what I can to get onto the podium next year in Tokyo.
And to Mel, it's a question here. It's amazing all the achievements you've surpassed at such a young age. What drove you to work so hard when you were 13 to 16 years old and then hang in there as you've aged?
I think as a youngster, I came from a pretty competitive family, so I think that was always in me, and I always felt like I was playing catch up with my siblings who were pretty much good at a lot of things that I wasn't good at. And it took me a little while to find kind of my sport and what I enjoyed. So once I did find diving, from there that made it easy because I absolutely loved it and I had goals I wanted to achieve. And I think part of that was also too, you know, making it in my family and showing that, you know, I could step up and, you know, be on the same kind of playing field as them. But definitely from my family, I learned a lot of important things like hard work and commitment and dedication. So for me, that came really naturally to be able to do that from such a young age. But yeah, not to say it wasn't tough. And I think a whole another challenge then was, like you said, maintaining it then after that. So that's where I think it was a bit more difficult to try and stay not just motivated, but deal with those challenges and all the things that came along with that. But I think, like I said before, having goals and things that I'm working towards and constantly wanting to improve and better myself drove me to want to keep going and overcome those challenges. And I think, yeah, now I still feel like I haven't, you know, given the perfect performance, and diving is, you know, a bit like that. Everyone's a bit of a perfectionist, and, you know, you're scored out of 10 and everyone's striving for, you know, the perfect 10. So to be able to put a competition together where I'm really happy with all of my dives and to walk away and be really happy that I've given my best performance is what continually drives me to keep going all these years later.
Now, you've got a fan here who follows you on Instagram. They want to know, how have you put together those lockdown sessions, because it looks like a few of them have gone global, and how hard are those sessions to do?
Well, actually what is in the sessions is pretty normal training for us. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work that you don't know about, I guess, because all you see is, you know, the fancy stuff off the diving board into the pool. But there's a whole lot of preparation that goes into that, including a lot of dry land training. So a lot of the somersaults and core workouts and things that are on Instagram, just pretty typical of what we normally do in diving. But definitely I struggled during COVID to keep like a regular training routine and stay on top of that, because it was really easy just to be like, oh, you know, it's a bit too hard today, or I'm a little bit tired. And for me, it was just, yeah, about making sure I was in there and having someone to keep me accountable. So I trained a bit with my brother. He's a weightlifter. We were, you know, in the gym working hard together, even though we're in completely different sports. And, you know, I taught him a thing or two on the trampoline before he he did something a bit crazy and he got banned by my mum. But yeah, and then he taught me a bit of weightlifting as well. So it was cool to mix it up and try some new things as well. But I think that was key, was just pushing yourself, but then also branching out a bit, getting creative with it. And yeah, that was kind of, yeah, my COVID training.
I love that, always a competitor. Now, another one for Mel, out of Rio, London, Beijing, is there one of those places you've competed more meaningful than the others, and if so, why?
I think for me, the first Olympics is always the most special. I think because before you go to your first Olympics, you're not an Olympian, and it's everything that you've dreamed of from a young kid, and everything you've worked hard for. All the blood, sweat and tears is for, you know, that moment when you go, and it's the first time you go to the Olympics. It's the first time you get to represent Australia on that level, and, you know, you get your uniform, you meet all these incredible athletes. It's just an amazing opportunity, and before you've experienced it, you can't imagine what it's like. And even if, you know, as Olympians, if we explain it, you know, you can tell everyone about it, but until you've been, like, that's a really special experience. And that Olympics too is where I won a silver medal. And on top of that, it was in Beijing, and I'm half Chinese, so I had family there watching. And that's actually the only Olympics I think I've had family watching. Oh, in Rio I did as well. But yeah, that was the first one. So having people there watching it was a little bit nerve-wracking actually, but also really special to be able to go and compete really well and come away with a silver at such a young age. Yeah, definitely that was the best one. But again, every Olympics is awesome, but first one's the most special.
Special memories. Chloe, how do you think winning the Rio Sevens changed women's rugby around Australia, and how do you juggle professional sports and your training schedule?
I think winning gold at Rio was a pretty massive moment. The amount of people that messaged me afterwards and the things we were hearing from back home was that lots of people had gone in a little bit late to school because it was on at a great time. I think it was about 8:30 in the morning back home, so heaps of people had been able to watch that gold medal match, and people who didn't necessarily know a whole lot about rugby sevens loved watching it because it's such an exciting sport. It's so fast paced, and even if you don't necessarily know the rules, you kind of just see players like Ellia Green get the ball in her hand and just go flying down the sideline, and it's pretty cool to watch. So I think a really special thing for me, particularly during COVID, has been going down to see a couple of local clubs, and I've just recently been coaching rugby sevens where I used to go to school at Pymble Ladies College, and it's pretty amazing to see there's now over 100 girls there playing rugby, and even down at local club level there's now teams in the under 12s, 14s, 16s and 18s, which when I was a kid I used to watch my brothers play rugby, and there was probably one senior girls team but no opportunities available for the young girls. So it's really cool to see the way that Australia as a country has embraced rugby, and the way that winning that gold medal kind of inspired hopefully a generation of young girls.
I've got one here, Chloe, from Ruby from Brigidine College. She asks, as vice captain of your AFLW Carlton team, as well as an Olympic gold medalist in rugby sevens, how do you try to display leadership both on and off the field as you are playing two professional sports?
That's a really good question. I've really loved the opportunity to play across a couple of professional sports, and it's been a really great opportunity to be able to challenge myself. I think something that I loved about it is I've put myself in really uncomfortable positions where I don't really know what's going to happen all the time, and I'm in a position where I've got to similar to what Steve was saying about being vulnerable and being okay with not necessarily knowing all the answers or knowing that I was going to be able to perform at that level, but being able to ask questions and learn and learn off other people. And I think that's a big part of leadership is being able to accept that you don't necessarily have all the answers or you're not going to be the best person in the team, and being able to find other people within the team that you respect and have that knowledge and be able to learn from them. And then I think another thing I've learned more recently around leadership is being able to have constructive conversations and challenging yourself to be able to chat to people and have conversations that you might not necessarily be that comfortable with, and developing skills in that area. Because I know back when I was a little bit younger, I used to be not great at having challenging conversations, and it was something that I worked out I wanted to be a lot better at. And I think as you develop into a leader, that's a really important skill. So I think that's another great one to work on.
And another one here, how do you play each game and every game at 110% effort when you play up to 6 games like you did at the Rio Olympics? How did you do this, and how did you have amazing results like 5 wins and 1 draw and keep up that energy?
Yeah, that's a really tough part of sevens, and I think that's when you get to finals day on that second or third day of competition and you work out which team it is that's put in all that preparation to be able to have the fitness levels and the mental strength as well to be able to push through and be able to perform in that gold medal match as well. So we do a lot of work in training where we do double training days, so we might be out on the field in the morning and then again in the afternoon and have gym in between. So that's a big part of our preparation around, you're pretty sore and tired from the morning or from the day before, and then you've got to be able to back up and perform in training that afternoon so that we can try and simulate what it feels like when you're in a tournament and getting out there for that game. And then I think another big part of that was just going out there with confidence. When we went into that gold medal match against New Zealand in Rio, we knew that we had done all of that preparation. We went in as the favourites. We'd won the World Series that year, but we just went in and we'd only ever talked about winning that gold medal, and that was our goal, and that was what we wanted to achieve. And when we went out there and we stood side by side and we sung the national anthem, we just had this real sense of we were focused, but we were really relaxed because we knew that we'd done all that work and we were just ready to go out there and get the job done, and we did, and came home with the gold.
Such a wonderful moment, and I remember watching it and being in tears and seeing my young daughter and going, yes, one day you can aspire to do this. So you definitely have so many other girls out there and women that want to play rugby sevens. Steve, one here for you. There's someone that asks, how important is the balance of sport and study, and what have you studied and how have you got the best out of yourself to achieve success in both?
What a wonderful question. Athletics has always been a part of me, but it's never been the entire part of me. And, I was someone who, always enjoyed learning, always enjoyed school, and always saw that there was going to be a point in my life where sport would drop away and that I would do something else. So while I had the opportunity, I took it, academically as well. I went over to America, which the question asker might know. I studied 2 degrees in America, one in human biology, thinking I was going to go down the medical route, and then deciding that I actually had a love for business and went to go study a degree in management. But I think the balance is really important because it allows you to have a lot of leverage in your athletics. It allows me to be able to work as well as compete. That provides a nice income, which allows me to be less stressed financially. But it also allows me to give myself a break from just the mental challenges of how intense we are when we're focusing on our athletics. And I've always found to be able to switch off and relax has been a great advantage to my athletics, and it's also just been a great advantage to my well-being as a person at large. So I think if you have the opportunity, I think it's definitely doable, and I encourage you to look to combine athletics and academics at the same time. And for me, that meant going over to America and having a wonderful experience there. So I hope there are some people watching, and you in the audience might be interested in following a similar path, and I just encourage you to do so. I think it's fantastic to set yourself up while you're still an athlete for life after athletics, because I think we all know that at one point in time we're going to have to hang up the shoes, and I think getting a good education under your belt before you do that is something that will not only help your athletics in the moment by keeping you kind of grounded and giving yourself a distraction from the intensity of Olympic training, but also setting yourself up for the future.
Well done, Steve. Such a great role model on and off the field. I'm going to have to wrap you guys pretty shortly. I've got hundreds of questions, so I'll hand you some homework and make sure that we do get back to all our change makers. But I've got to ask the Sydney panel, what is your favourite part of being an Australian Olympian?
I think I'll start with that one because I'm most... I think my favourite part about being an Olympian is the confidence that it gives me to pursue goals that are really big. To go out and there'll be people, you might even see this in yourself, to say that you want to be an Olympian and represent your country at the greatest sporting event in the world, that's a scary thing to say. That's a scary goal to set. And if you look at the statistic probability, you're not going to do that. Such a small percentage of people make it to the Olympic Games. And I think when you do make it to the Olympic Games, one of the things that I've seen is it just gives you the confidence to approach that Olympic spirit in other elements of your life as well, and encourage people to take risks and shoot for really big goals. And we were speaking just a little bit before, Mel, but what about yourself? What about your favourite part about being an Australian Olympian?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely representing Australia at the pinnacle of sport. And like you said, Steve, it's amazing. It's the greatest sporting event in the world, and to be able to get there and actually do it and represent the country, wear the green and gold, for me that's the most amazing part of it. But the whole Olympic experience and being able to meet other athletes as well from other sports, I think when you grow up and you're so focused on your goal, you're kind of in this little bubble of just, being in your sport and your goals. But once you hit that level, you get to meet a whole bunch of other athletes. And even though, like you said, the percentage is so small, you're in a position where you're surrounded by all of these incredible athletes, and you just want to meet everybody and hear their stories and learn as much as you can from them. So that's a huge part for me that I absolutely love. And you only get it, every 4 years to be in that kind of environment. So you really want to make the most of it. What about you, Chloe?
I think my favourite part about being an Olympian is that when I look back to when I was a kid, I was 7 years old when I watched Kathy win gold at the Sydney Olympics in the 400 metres, and I decided in that moment that I wanted to win an Olympic gold medal. So it's pretty crazy to think that as a team we were able to go out and do that. But now to look back and to see that I now have the opportunity to hopefully inspire this next generation of young girls and boys, and even to have the chance to chat to you guys about some of these things today with some pretty incredible athletes by my side is a huge opportunity and something that I love to be able to do. So I really hope that you guys have got something out of it today.
Well, our change makers definitely have got a lot out of it, and I will set you guys a task to get back to a lot of these questions that are coming through. Some fantastic questions, but thank you to our Sydney panel, our Olympians, for joining us today, and we wish you all the best in the lead up to Tokyo. Now, two of the Tokyo 2020 core concepts are unity in diversity and connecting to tomorrow. Now more than ever, these are themes that are just so important to each and everything that we do. We want to thank you for completing the quick poll that we put up at the start of the session, and it's just so awesome to see you tuning in from all over the country. Hello to our friends up in Darwin in the Northern Territory, over to the west, Esperance, Bunbury, Mandurah, Perth and Albany in WA. In Queensland, Hervey Bay, Bundaberg, Toowoomba, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Brisbane, Gladstone, Jimboomba and Cairns. Fantastic to see record number of change makers this year in 2020 coming from Tasmania, Launceston, Smithton, Latrobe, Hobart, Devonport and Riverside. And hello South Australia, Mount Gambier, McLaren Vale, Streaky Bay, Adelaide, and from the ACT, Tuggeranong, Melba. In New South Wales, Corindi, Lismore, Wagga Wagga, Coffs Harbour, Jindabyne, Grafton, Wollongong, Yass, Sydney and Dubbo. And a big change maker shout out to the state that has definitely inspired all of us this year with your positivity that you've kept through lockdown. To Victoria, hello to everyone in Melbourne and the Mornington Peninsula, Ballarat, Warrnambool, Echuca and Bendigo, just to name a few of the places our change makers are joining us from today on this virtual platform. An Aussie Olympic green and gold hello to everyone. There is so many of you around the country, but wherever you are right now, it's really important to feel that powerful message that right now, sport is what is bringing us all together. This theme was definitely consistent with your nominations for Olympic changemakers, so let's see some more of what you've been up to.
Hello, my name is Jordan Peters.
Rhiannon Clark.
And I'm an Olympic changemaker.
Being a leader to me is the ability to inspire and overcome challenges.
I love what I do because it improves well-being as it keeps me and others physically and mentally healthy.
That all people with disabilities should have equal opportunities to participate and compete in every sport.
Compelled me to drive social change at my school.
Australia will be hosting the Women's World Cup, and this makes me want to be better and inspire others to work hard day after day.
Being the first triathlete at school, I created the founding triathlon team. Now the school is introducing a triathlon program, a legacy of which I am proud of.
I say that no matter your age or gender, you can participate in whatever sport you want.
I have introduced pre-game pass tonight to enable the girls to bond in our squad.
Everyone should have the opportunity to try, and everyone who wanted to play did get game time to help build confidence.
We all have an opportunity to make a change, and I wish to do just that.
I'm so inspired. Well done, change makers. Our next guests are also loving driving change through leadership. Joining us now from Melbourne via video link is dual Olympian and Australia's greatest ever 110-metre hurdler, an Olympic finalist in Atlanta in 1996, and he's spent this week's 20-year celebrations reflecting on the incredible Sydney 2000 Olympic Games. Welcome to Carl van der Kuyt. Joining Carl is one of 3 Aboriginal Australian women to have competed at an Olympic athletics event, joining Kathy Freeman and Nova Paris-Kneebone when she competed in London 2012. Welcome Olympic racewalker Becky Smith, joining us live from Canberra. And here on the Gold Coast in the studio with me is Rio 2016 beach volleyball Olympian Taliqua Clancy. All three athletes are definitely paving the way for future generations in the amazing work that they do. Welcome to you all. It's great to have you part of our Changemakers virtual event. Kyle, I have to start with you. You've had a remarkable career and you continue to be such an amazing leader. You've paved the way for so many. I have to ask you, what drives you and why is leadership and this Changemaker program so important to you?
G'day, Brooke. Yeah, I'm so grateful for what sport gave me. I look back now and I think of the shy kid that I was and the kid that was trying to work out his identity, work out, get better self-esteem, better confidence, and sport gave me all of that. I was able to set goals and pursue my dream to become an Olympian, and I had great role models to look up to. I looked up to Lionel Rose, Yvonne Goolagong, and I also put good people around me. So I had good teachers at school, good teachers in primary school and high school, and a great mum that supported me. So yeah, I look back and I realise that I'm grateful for what sport gave me, and it changed me. It gave me the confidence to open doors now after sport. So I've been enjoying being a role model and enjoyed trying to make things better for Indigenous Australians through education, through health, through mentoring. So that's what I've been busy with.
Fantastic to hear, always a wonderful leader. Becky, you are one of 13 Indigenous Australian women to compete at an Olympic Games. What does it mean to you to be an Olympian and to be an Indigenous Olympian?
Yeah, thanks, Brooke. Look, it's a huge honour and something that I'm, immensely proud of to be able to achieve that goal. But I still think, it makes me realise being one of only 13 Indigenous women to, compete for Australia at the Olympic Games, that we have a long way to go. I'd definitely love to see more of us on that team, that's for sure.
I have to ask you, there's already been a question come through, Becky, and someone just wants to know what's that feeling like when you put on the green and gold and you're finally announced as an Olympian?
Yeah, I still, I get asked this quite a lot, and I'm sure most of us, that have competed in the Olympics do get asked this, and I still can't put it into words and, to be able to describe it, but it's an overwhelming feeling of happiness, proud, joy. It's relief. It's when you put that uniform on, that blood, sweat, and tears have mattered, and I guess that's what counts.
It definitely counts. Now, Taliqua, in Rio, you were the first Indigenous woman to represent Australia in beach volleyball with your partner, Louise Bowden. Tell me, how special is this partnership between the two of you? And with that partnership, what underpinned your success as a team?
Yeah, I do love beach volleyball because I've always been very team orientated. I played all sports growing up, but it's that journey that you take, like every 4 years and the new cycle begins, and that bond that you create is nothing you can ever, you can't, again, it's one of those things that you can't put into the words. There's so many elements of the Olympics that you can't. But I know that everything that I've learnt is definitely giving me the opportunities to get back to my community, and the roles of the relationship. You learn so much, and it's really hard to describe. It's incredible.
Taliqua, I've got a question here. Someone's asked, what's the one thing that you would say to Louise to bring her back into that positive mindset?
We have really strong values that we set down as a team. So, just a lot of encouragement. We're very focused and very outcome driven too. So it wasn't hard. Trust me, she's very fiery and super competitive. But yeah, just a lot of positive reinforcement. We've set that goal, and I believe in her. We trust in the team that we can do, and I think that's really what we always talk about to a lot in our team. Was one of our values was continuous growth. So no matter if we had a loss or a win, we just we always took the learnings and we kept pushing forward and moving forward.
Carl, you're a pivotal part of the AOC's newly created Indigenous Advisory Committee. Becky is a part of that as well. What type of leader are you, and how do you lead through change?
Yeah, well, I'm super excited to be on that new committee, and it's, I think I've probably waited for these conversations to happen for years, and it's been great to be on a great committee and start to discuss, what the AOC can do to show their leadership in the Indigenous space, and whether that's through programs, whether we can educate our wonderful Olympians that are across the country. We're going to have a couple of things coming up, a forum for all the athletes. We're thinking about uniform design and how can we incorporate that. But really the starting point is to try and give all Olympians the history, some of that history that Australia's had. Some of that history is dark history that we have to really learn about, but there's also a great history that all Australians should celebrate, the longest living surviving culture in the world. So that's the sort of things we're talking about on the committee. And it's great to have a voice. I've enjoyed the conversations, and we're only a group of 8 of us on the committee, but we're 52 Indigenous Olympians have represented Australia with the green and gold. So we're wanting to celebrate that, but we're wanting to grow on that. So why can't that be triple figures in years to come?
Definitely triple figures with learning about the history would be amazing for our change makers and all Olympians. I've got a question that's come through, Carl. I do hurdles at Little Athletics, under 17s. What advice do you have for a beginner when it comes to not knocking the hurdles down?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think you're always going to hit hurdles, but I really enjoyed the technical side of hurdle training. And the hurdles, they start off pretty low in Little Ass, and then they grow and they get bigger, and hopefully you grow as you go along the way. But I think it's finding a good coach that can give you some tips, someone that can watch over your technique. If it's your trail leg that's hitting, you've got to try and work on your flexibility. I think these days not enough of us stretch, not enough young people stretch. So find a good stretching program and get your hips opened up, not just your hamstrings and your quads, but your whole hips have to be opened up. So I think stretching would be the key. And I wish I could pass on some of my top stretches. I might have to jot them down and send them off to everyone.
Definitely, we'll make sure that you add that to the Facebook group. Stretching and yoga, I always still think in retirement, it's definitely helps me. Another question for Carl. As an Indigenous Australian student, I've been involved with our Connecting to Country subject at school and recognise the many challenges we have and are still faced with today. What is the one major challenge that you've had to overcome as an Indigenous athlete?
Oh, that's a great question. I think really I look at the journey I've had through sport. It's led me to find out where my biological family were from, and I was adopted when I was young. So for me to get to that point in my life to say I'm Warramai and I'm Yuin tribe from New South Wales, that really gave me a sense of pride. And I think the difficulty is to try and keep that proud history and be proud of the generations and the ancestors that you've come from, but also forge a life for yourself and set goals for yourself. So walking in two worlds can be the challenge for a lot of Indigenous people. It's pursue your own dreams, but also be proud of that history and walk in two worlds. So that's something that I try and navigate through. But knowing your history could be something that you should be able to platform and leverage off. I think of my ancestors and I go, wow, it's look at the opportunities I've had, and you should use that as a strength.
That's wonderful advice, especially for our Indigenous students that are watching today. Becky, some of the issues that we're facing as a diverse community, what are you seeing in your everyday life as an athlete and as a mum and also a member of the advisory board?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm noticing more and more is open conversation is happening. It's people are getting ready to listen, and the younger generations are just leading the way in that, and and that's why the Changemakers program is so important. We don't give young people enough of a voice, I think. And there's so much knowledge and respect that I gained from, mentoring the younger ones, and even being a mum to a nearly 7-year-old. The stuff that I've learned from him, just conversations that I've had with him are just, I wouldn't have learned from an adult. So I think, open conversation, respectful conversation, when we do that, as a nation, be stronger for, and, even just create pathways for everybody, a fairer world, a fairer nation, and it's only going to help us in sport. So it's a win-win.
Definitely a win-win. Another question for you, Becky. How fast can you walk?
So my personal best currently is 1 hour, 29 minutes and 49 seconds for the 20-kilometre distance. So that breaks it down to just under 4-minute 30, kilometre pace. So, trying to get back up there to, qualify for Tokyo again next year. So, fingers crossed we can get up to that fitness level and that speed again.
Another question you've just been asked, are the dreadlocks coming back for Tokyo?
Oh, there's still a few in there. So this was kind of my COVID meltdown period when we were in lockdown earlier on in the year. Dreads are really hard to maintain if you want good ones. So, I got them because I was like, no, I just don't want to do my hair anymore. But that's definitely not the case. So, yeah, definitely a COVID meltdown period. But there's still some hiding away there. So they'll definitely, continue on.
Are you getting recognised less now that the dreadlocks aren't fully in?
Yeah, I guess so. They are a little bit of a trademark for me, especially in, the sporting arena. But, we do have to change. That's life. And we've learned, change makers is a prime example of that. And so we do need to change ourselves along the way as well. So that's just part of the journey.
You've got a question here from an elite cheerleader. Last year, she sustained a career-ending injury. And she wants to ask, have you had any sporting injuries that you may have suffered or that have affected or altered your training regime?
Look, I've been pretty lucky in the injury stakes. I can't say, that I've had too many injuries. I suffered from glandular fever, which was, a big hit to the immune system, and definitely a long process in coming back from that. And also being a mum, so definitely I had an emergency cesarean with my little man. So coming back after that, long recovery period, your body changes. And I guess sometimes life deals us with cards that we don't want to be dealt. And that's how we build resilience. And that's how we find our path within, our own personal journeys. And so I guess my advice, to you would just be stay strong, stay healthy, and find other ways to keep your body and mind active.
Wonderful advice. Talika, one here, there's a fan that follows you on Instagram and she wants to ask, or he or she hasn't given their name, do you like spiking or defence more?
That's a pretty easy one. Spiking is definitely the best skill in beach volleyball. There's nothing better than smashing that ball down in the sand. But also I love serving. Jump serving is absolutely one of my favourite skills too, but yeah.
And also, do you have a favourite social media platform?
Instagram, for sure.
Instagram?
I don't want to encourage that. Go outside, run around, but yeah. I think Instagram is a great way to reach other people. I think, especially in these times, and what we're doing today, it's a great way to show what we're doing and to engage with you all, and hopefully we can inspire you all to go out and try new training things. Kyle, you got me there. I do need to stretch more. So, if by hearing those words, I think, and learning from each other and seeing, I think that helps us even get better.
And going on from that question, they've asked, are there any restrictions on social media when you're at training camps?
No, we have a lot of trust, but definitely I try to stay very much in the moment. I think that's extremely important as an athlete. So, as much as I want to connect and share and inspire, I definitely try to put it away and to just really be in the moment. It's so important just to have that good focus. It's really important.
And I love this next one for you. Have you ever experienced anything throughout your career that discouraged you from pushing forward?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. Like I said, I played a lot of sport growing up, and And you know, I didn't make every team that I went for. I didn't win every race. I didn't win every game that I played. I even got told too that I wasn't going to make it in the sport of volleyball. But I'm so lucky, my family's so supportive, and I just, you know, we just blocked out those messages, and I just loved and enjoyed what I did. I kept working hard, and I was able to reach that goal of being an Olympian. That was always been a goal growing up. So yeah, there was definitely times where, you know, there was hard things coming at me, but yeah, if you stick at it and know your truth, you know who you are, back yourself in, and you can do whatever you set your mind to.
What does it mean to be an Olympian to you?
On it so much, hard to put into words, but I feel like as soon as you put that green and gold on, it's that camaraderie of being in the big team. It's really, really special, and even being at the games, even, you know, I was in Rio, you still feel all that connection from back home in Australia, and that is an amazing, amazing feeling, and it's a blessing too of being an Olympian and being an athlete.
And Carl, what does it mean to be an Olympian?
Oh, it's something I'm so proud of. I mean, yeah, to represent the country and, you know, to wear green and gold, it's such an honour. And I think, you know, you don't realise till you finish the effect that it has, the hope that it brings. You know, Aboriginal communities that I've walked into that have watched my races. Families that have called their son Kyle because they've watched me race. So you don't know that impact, and I think so. I you know, look back at it, and I'm grateful that sport gave me so many opportunities. But green and gold is everything. When you walk out of the tunnel and you race for Australia, it's a dream come true.
So true. Wearing the green and gold, the coat of arms on your chest, and representing your country with pride. It is hard to put into words, but I will ask Becky before I round out the panel. Becky, what does it mean to you to be an Olympian?
Yeah, I think, you know, just like Carl and Taliqua. Yeah, like I just think, you know, it's very hard to put into words, and it's changed for me the older I get as well. I think currently it's really opened my eyes to a platform that we have to create change and lead for good. And that's something that I'm very grateful for. And I don't like to take that lightly. So, you know, being able to be involved in Changemaker program and speak to you guys today is very special to me.
Well, we thank you all for joining us today. It's great to see you, and keep up the fantastic work with the Indigenous Advisory Committee. And we would love to see more Indigenous athletes, more than 52, head to Tokyo as well as the Olympics ahead. All the best to you guys. Keep up the great work. Keep leading. And yeah, it's been great to have you on board with this incredible Changemakers program.
Thank you.
I'm going to say goodbye to Canberra and to Melbourne, and I'll keep Taliqua here with me on the Gold Coast, but we do have a very special guest joining us live from the Sydney studio. The International Olympic Committee aims to build a better world through sport, and the Australian Olympic Changemaker is the embodiment of this philosophy, and it's being played out in your communities across Australia. Matt Carroll AM, the CEO of the AOC, is passionate about the Changemaker movement and the work that you are all doing. Matt joins us now live from Sydney.
Good afternoon, Brooke, and good afternoon to everybody. I've been listening in to the Olympians tell their stories and answer your questions, which is what the Changemaker is all about. It is learning from others, but then to take those learnings and do something better for yourself and therefore better for your community. So it's been great listening in. But as Brooke said, the Olympic Changemaker, now in its second year, recognises students from right across Australia who are demonstrating the Olympic spirit of friendship, sportsmanship and striving for excellence. Whether it's in sport or any other pursuit, it's just about making that positive change for their schools and in their communities. Obviously this year with COVID-19, we've adapted Olympic Changemaker to cater for the world of COVID. And it's fantastic we've been able to do it. But I suppose it's a negative in some ways, but the positive is we've been able to bring all the schools right across Australia together into this one special afternoon. This year over 800 nominations have been received from schools right across the country. And the nominations have highlighted the students that have adapted to the pandemic, leading online workouts, class for class or teammates, virtual challenges, online buddy systems, which sounds very special, breakfast club workouts, refugee coaching, volunteering, radio hosting, and most importantly, a daily dose of optimism and positivity. The Olympic Changemaker program only works because we are able to bring our Olympians basically today into the classroom. So our thanks to the Olympians joining us today, Brooke, Steve, Melissa, Chloe, Takita, Kyle and Becky. I'm glad you could share your stories with our students right across the country. As Brooke said, why do we do this? It's so important. The Olympic movement aims to build a better world through the power of sport. As Nelson Mandela said, sport has the power to change the world, it has the power to inspire, it has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. But sport cannot change the world on its own. It needs change makers, Olympic change makers, and that's what this is all about. Creating a new generation of Olympic change makers to take on the world. Also, a lot of problems, a lot of issues, a lot of things out there, but it's important that you have that positivity that Olympic Changemaker program is built on. Interesting, I got a couple of questions sent to me, which is most unusual. Normally it's only for the Olympians, which I like that because I don't have to answer the questions. The interesting ones. What did you most like about Japan during the 2019 Rugby World Cup? Well, I spent 2 years in Japan helping them set up for the Rugby World Cup. What did I most like about it? The people. They are fantastic people. That's why they're going to do a tremendous job next year for the Tokyo 2020 Games in 2021. They worried about whether the tournament was going to be successful or not. They worried about if anyone was going to turn up at the games. They worried about whether they could make $1. They worried about whether their team was going to go well. Well, the end result was it was fantastic. The venues were full. The hospitality was brilliant, as Japanese can only do. It was excellent rugby. The home team, Japan, made the quarterfinals. And if you're a South African, it was a great result because they won. The other question was, besides all the negativity this year, what is one or more exciting, thrilling aspects of the position you have within your job? Well, there's two, I think. One is I'm a positive person, so my job and the job of everyone at the AOC this year is to support the preparations of the athletes, of the Olympians, to get them to assemble the team here in Australia and get them to Tokyo to perform at their best. And we're putting a lot of work into that and looking after our athletes, get them to Tokyo. They have the opportunity to do the best and be the best they possibly can, and we'll bring them home to celebrate these Tokyo Olympic Games. And the other one of that, which is fantastic, and this is partly today, is seeing the fantastic work done by our sports and their athletes to provide the inspiration to the Australian community over the COVID lockdowns that have been happening around the country over the last 4 or 5 months. So those two things certainly make our job very worthwhile. And the last question was, what steps did you take to get you where you are now? Well, I don't think I've got enough time to fill that one out, but I'll simply say, look, I'm a person, as I said, very positive, so never accept that things have to be the way they are. Always aim to make a positive difference. And that's what you do, and that's how you can enjoy your job. And I always think you need 3 Ps. Positive, never be negative. Persistence, achieving your goals is never easy, so you've got to keep at it. And patience, which also means listening and respecting others. I think if you follow those, no matter what career path you do, particularly the patience bit in sport, I assure you need a lot of patience. It's similar probably with athletes. I can see a few nodding heads here on the screen. You've got to have a lot of patience and that perseverance and be positive about it. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Matt, and great to hear from our CEO today, Matt Carroll, AM. Of course, a busy man, but wonderful to have some questions coming through from our change makers for our CEO, as well as me, your facilitator, and our 6 Olympians. We will get back to you, I promise. I've set everyone some homework, but that's an event wrap from here on the Gold Coast, sending all my love to everyone around Australia. Thank you for joining us. Let's give our 2020 change makers a huge round of applause. Well done. Pat yourselves on the back. I encourage you to continue to be leaders, to share with the world what you are doing and what you're creating, and celebrate these amazing things that you're achieving within your school and within your community. Join the Changemaker alumni group, and that will be on Facebook. We will definitely get our Olympians to answer those questions that we didn't get to today. Keep an eye out for a very special email coming from the AOC over the next couple of days, and this will be your opportunity to encapsulate the importance of being a change maker and what being a change maker means to you. Remember to use the hashtag #BeTheChange2020 and tag in @OzOlympicTeam. We will finish today noting all the schools of the 2020 Australian Olympic Changemaker Program recipients. Congratulations to each and every one of you. Keep up the incredible work. Thank you for joining us. Continue to shine, keep smiling. I'm Brooke Hanson. Bye for now.